solamente ahora o si se va a repetir, se va...
South American countries are often known for their dense populations and modest lifestyles. Due to these factors, we can easily observe an increase in crime and chaos in those regions. However, amidst these South American countries, there's a peaceful and prosperous nation with a remarkably small population and consequently a higher per capita income. This country is particularly well recognized by men for its national football matches or the names of its football players. Fernando Muslera, Luis Suarez, and Diego Forlán are strong examples representing this nation. This place is located in the southern part of South America, boasting crystal clear beaches, and despite its small appearance from a bird's-eye view, it encompasses a vast territory of 176,000 square kilometers. Within this land area, it is home to merely 3.5 million people. Considering how much larger populations the South Asian countries accommodate in much smaller areas, we can say that Uruguay appears significantly appealing to those who aren't fond of crowded places. Remember that in South Asia, Bangladesh, with its 148,000 square kilometers, hosts a staggering 169 million registered individuals. In contrast, Uruguay occupies a much larger area with a tiny population. The name is derived from the ancient languages of the South American natives, meaning river of painted birds. The country has a beautiful flag featuring horizontal blue and white stripes. The top left part of the flag symbolizes their sun of freedom. Interestingly, the person who designed the flag is none other than the country's first president, Fructuoso Rivera. Uruguay is often referred to as the Switzerland of South America. This is due to the fact that despite the struggling economies and income inequalities in many other countries on the continent, Uruguay maintains a stable and resilient economy. Consequently, income disparities among its citizens haven't ballooned to extreme levels, and the country values its people. For instance, if you have employees working 8 hours a day, you can thank Uruguay, as it was the first country in the world to introduce and legalize the 8-hour workday. You can express gratitude to Uruguay for its support of workers. Similarly, women in Uruguay were granted the right to vote and stand for election back in 1917, ahead of many developed countries worldwide. Moreover, the country boasts one of the most liberal mindsets globally. For example, same-sex marriage is fully legal, and since December 2013, the recreational use of marijuana has been permitted for its citizens. There is no religious dominance or pressure in the country, and religious education is not provided in schools. The country's capital has an interesting name, which is Montevideo. This city is the heart of Uruguay and holds its political hub. It serves as a crucial tourist and commercial port city. The majority of the country's economy, imports and exports are facilitated through the port of this city. Since Uruguay is a South American nation, it relies heavily on maritime transportation for commercial activities from other continents. The city's population is around 1.5 million, meaning nearly half of the country's population resides there. Montevideo, situated in the southernmost part of the country, allows for ferry access to Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina and another port city. If we examine Uruguay in more detail on the map, we can see that it is sandwiched between Brazil and Argentina in South America. There are land borders to these two countries, and you can reach Uruguay by road. Looking at the map, it should be noted that the country's surface area looks extremely small compared to Brazil and Argentina. In addition, their capital Montevideo is located on the southernmost line of the country and has a direct coast to the sea. So we can say that it faces the South Atlantic Ocean. If you watch the everyday life of people in Uruguay, you can see that they live a very glamorous and peaceful life. Especially meeting and befriending a Uruguayan woman can be heaven on earth. Uruguayan people are open-minded and friendly and warm. If you want to talk to one of them, they will be very friendly and will make your journey in Uruguay more exciting. So don't hesitate to meet new people in Uruguay and communicate with them. They will not only introduce you to their country in the best possible way, but they will also want to have a serious relationship with you. So when you go to South America, don't just visit Argentina and Colombia. Make sure you also visit Uruguay and feel the life there up close. Unfortunately, there is no possibility of reaching this country by road from European nations. Moreover, due to the considerable distance between South American countries and other continents, airfares to these countries tend to be quite expensive. Furthermore, due to the limited demand for travel to Uruguay, flights to the country often involve layovers in Europe or the United States. This implies that you might spend more than a day traveling in airports and planes. However, there's a positive aspect to this. Uruguay doesn't typically require visas from many countries. Unless you're arriving from a country with extremely unfavorable diplomatic relations, you can enter and exit the country freely with your passport within a year. In addition to this, if you have an interest in cowboy culture, you should venture into the interior of Uruguay by road. In fact, this country is known as the land of legendary cowboys called gaucho, who are often referred to as the cowboys of South America. They are somewhat the masters of horses in this land. They live alongside forests and wetlands, leading a simple life removed from the complexities of modernity. The country's predominantly flat terrain has allowed them to carry on their ancestral skills and culture. If you venture into the heartlands of Uruguay, you might encounter these horseback riding cowboys and even have the chance to experience their ranch lives as their guests. The people in Uruguay officially speak Spanish. However, in regions close to the border with Brazil, you might also encounter Portuguese speakers. When you arrive in this country, your main challenge will undoubtedly be related to language. Especially among the middle-aged and older population, speaking anything other than Spanish or Portuguese is quite rare. This means that outside of the capital, you might not receive responses in English to your questions. If you wonder why the country doesn't have its own language, you can understand that this is rooted in historical processes from the past. The nation was once under the colonial rule of Spain and Portugal. Over time, the UK also got involved in the region, but they withdrew from Uruguay after World War II. In the last 70 years, the country took Switzerland as a model and underwent a renewal process. This renewal, which lasted until the 1990s, transformed Uruguay into one of the most livable and modern countries today. The main reason we might not hear much about this country is undoubtedly its geographical distance from us. Uruguay has become a safe haven for tourism and has a trade network that extends even to China. If you're curious about what they sell there, I can tell you that they export some of the most delicious steaks and wool in the world. Additionally, this small South American country also has the luck of having gold deposits, almost like winning the lottery. So Uruguay is a paradise with unique treasures both above and below the ground. However, after all this praise, you might be surprised when you hear about their minimum wage upon arriving, because for the year 2024, the minimum wage in Uruguay is around 20,000 pesos, equivalent to about $510. Therefore, despite the relative prosperity in the country, considering that the average income of the population is around $800, they are still behind Europe in terms of earnings. So how is daily life in the country, and what do we encounter while wandering through the streets of Uruguay? First of all, since the people of this country carry a Latin culture, it's quite natural to see two people dancing the tango while strolling the streets. The buildings in the city center resemble classic Spanish and Portuguese architecture. These architectural styles are at least 100 years old, and amidst the modern buildings of today, they lend the city a historical atmosphere. You're living in a bustling city, yet you can access beaches with sandy shores right in the middle of the city. You have buildings behind you while you're swimming. As in any Latin American country, here in Uruguay too, you'll find plenty of street musicians. The public bus transportation system is highly developed and efficient within Uruguay's cities. However, as you travel through traffic, you might even spot people on horseback in the city center. Moreover, the city boasts extensive waterfront promenades, and the grey buildings along these promenades bear a striking resemblance to the scenic views found in our own vacation paradises. Given that this is a hub for livestock and delicious meats, it's evident that restaurants in Uruguay heavily revolve around steaks. Apart from football, the greatest pleasure for the people lies in savoring grilled steaks. Remember, in our Buenos Aires video, we mentioned that these steaks are called asado and have a special spicy flavor. The country reportedly has an overwhelming number of livestock, with over 12 million head of cattle for just 3.5 million people. Hence, Uruguayans consume a lot of meat in their cuisine. This truly is a land of freedoms. One of the most evident examples is the ability to visit casinos while you're there. Yes, gambling is not illegal in this country, and you'll find plenty of casinos, especially in the capital. Similarly, you can walk around the streets freely with your camera, capturing scenes as you wish. The overall good state of affairs means that incidents of theft and robbery are exceptionally rare in Uruguay. The country's appeal to foreign tourists has driven up the cost of living in Uruguay. Among all the countries in South America, this could be described as the most expensive place to live. For instance, if you want to have a simple hamburger in a regular restaurant, you won't pay less than 300 pesos. And if you're wondering how much that is in dollars, 300 pesos is around $8. In fact, even the price of water in most places is around $3, which is quite astonishing. Therefore, depending on the quality of what you eat for each meal, you might need to allocate around $15 on average. And if you decide to have a coffee in a comfortable Starbucks-like place, you'd easily have to pay $4 for a latte or an Americano. In conclusion, Uruguay isn't a country for everyone to live in, and its costliness, even surpassing some parts of Europe, seems unreasonable to many. It's indeed a vacation paradise for those with ample funds. In fact, some people arriving in Uruguay after visiting Argentina might find this place a bit dull in comparison. However, there's something quite positive about the country's coastline. The beaches are entirely open to the public, not privatized by businesses. No matter how closely you look, you won't spot beach lounges for rent or beach club-style establishments. You'll frequently come across young people with laptops in the streets. This is because the government provides brand new laptops to students starting primary school. So every child here has their own computer, my friends. In Uruguay, people generally have a tanned complexion. In this sense, they resemble Brazilians more than their fair-skinned neighbors from Argentina, particularly the white-skinned ones. Additionally, when you look at the faces of Uruguayans, you sense a calm and mature demeanor. The country's main occupations, apart from tourism, being livestock and agriculture, might have pushed the locals into challenging circumstances, which could contribute to their more serious outlook. Despite the country's small population, the parks and beaches in the capital city are largely crowded. Of course, you can tell that some of these individuals are tourists from abroad just by looking at the cameras in their hands. When night falls, you can witness numerous vibrant venues packed with well-groomed people. The warmth and openness of Latin American people are quite evident from their expressions and movements. As a result, if you're looking to make friends in Uruguay, these lively environments provided by various establishments make it even easier for people to connect. In conclusion, Uruguay might be expensive for a permanent living, but in terms of safety and human rights, it truly resembles the Switzerland of South America. Until the next video, take care and goodbye.